Last week, for the Rough Cut 2022 video, I made this tool holder. And in the video I explain roughly that I have to compensate angles, combined angles, to put my cutting tool straight in the holder. And Bruce wrote in the comments that he doesn't really understand why I have to compensate this 4-degree angle because of the combined 2 times 15 degree, but it's a little bit complicated to answer this in a comment. So Bruce, this little clip is specially for you, and of course also for everybody else. Before I started making the real part, I did a little bit of test cutting here on this little piece of scrap, just to avoid to make a complete fool of myself, of course. And this piece is now in the vise, and as you can see, the table is tilted at again 15 degrees. The vise now is in line, or the part is square with the y-axis. I installed here a little bolt because if I install a real cutter I always cut myself, so this is only for safety, that's all. If now I cut a slot, the bottom of the slot will be of course 90 degrees horizontal. If I tilt the vise 90 degrees and I cut the same slot, which will be of course in the other way around, and after cutting I come back, I will have a bottom angle here of course 15 degrees. I think that makes sense, right? Because my part is now tilted backwards at 15 degrees, and if I set my vise also at 15, the bottom will not be at 90 degrees or 0 degrees if you want, horizontal, but will have more or less 4 degrees. And I figured it out just using my little scale. Now I suppose there's some very complicated formula somewhere to calculate this angle when you combine 2 other angles, but maths are killing me. I absolutely hate it and I'm absolutely not interested. For what I made here as a tool holder, my system of just measuring was more than adequate. But if someone wants to put in the comments the ideal method to calculate these angles, be my guest. So Bruce, I hope this answers a little bit your question. And even more important, to me you are a real hero, because you don't understand and at least you are not afraid to ask. Too many people are just a little bit too shy to ask, or they're afraid that maybe we're gonna think they are stupid. Of course you're not stupid. If you don't know, you don't know. Not a problem. If you don't want to know, that's a problem. And I also received stickers this week from Gilles, let's roger that, from Canada, and from Philip in the UK. I think these are the stickers that generates the most sympathy among the YouTube channels. This is the kind of an, oh shit, I need to make a sticker, and then he made one. I think this is brilliant, this is magnificent. So I will put them on the cheap door, and of course, as always, links in description. When I bought the milling machine, it came with this dividing head. It's of course not an original Deckel dividing head. This is a made in China copy, and I don't think it's made for the FP1, but we'll see if we can make it work. Now first I wanted to take it apart and clean up and all this, and then I thought, why not video all this? Maybe someone will find it interesting. You never know if somebody else has the same kind of equipment. So let's have a closer look. As you can see here and everywhere, the thing is covered in grease. Well, I think is of course a good thing to prevent rust. But there are a few little problems with it. For example, this locating pin is stuck, doesn't move. This shaft, when it's not engaged, like now, you feel that there's a hard spot in it, even 2 hard spots. Of course on video you can't feel it, but I feel it. So here is some work to do. There's a lot of cleanup to do, and it comes with only 1 meat grinder plate. So I don't know if it's enough or not. I have to admit that I never used a dividing head in my life. So I have no idea how this thing works, but I will learn from you. And here you can see all this. Bah. Right, of course I'm gonna clean it up a little bit off camera. I suppose you're not at all interested in someone cleaning dirty parts. And here are all the fragments more or less clean. The locating pin in this thing that was stuck because it was bent. So I managed to take it out without too many damage, straighten it again in the lathe using the dial indicator, and I made a new pin for it out of a woodworker's nail. It's very useful stuff, nails. And now it works again. Let's see if it's possible to make again a dividing head out of all these pieces of puzzle. The good news is also, of course, that this shaft that goes in here, there was a hard spot while turning by hand, and after cleanup it's as if it was made for it. Hard spot disappeared, so I think that's good news. Let's give it some lube. To tighten this nut and ring, I need special tools that I don't have, but we'll see later. Let's do first assembly. To install the main shaft, which I think is a beautiful piece, I will use a little bit of grease to put on the taper side. When I see the taper on this one, the finish is perfect. The opposite taper on this part looks like homemade beginner's work. So to make the fit maybe a little bit better, that's of course my theory, I will use a little bit of grease on the taper. tunnel shaft. Here you go. In here is a key, and there's an opening here to let it come through. So of course I had to find the opening, but it worked. The whole thing is assembled and everything went really well. Until I tightened this nut for the handle. And now I feel that the thing is binding again. So there's something really wrong with this. This one seems to work. Not a problem. And this one seems to work. Not a problem, but when I engage the two, there is a little bit a problem. There's another little problem, and that is this mounting plate comes with two tabs that comes in here, and that takes of course the slots in the milling machine. These little studs are 14 millimeter. 14. The slots in my milling machine are 12 millimeter, so these will not fit. The distance between the center of the slot and the top of the machine or the bottom is 60 millimeter. And here I have 100, which means all this part is gonna stick out, or of course if I use it the other way around, all this part is gonna stick out. So this plate is not original, it's not made for the FP1, but I'm gonna try anyway. Let's see if it's possible to fit the dividing head here on the milling machine. And to do that, of course, I have to take all this apart, and let's go for it. This is not a screwdriver. It used to be one. It's not anymore. Now, let me show you a little trick. We see too many times people lifting things and don't explain very well the why and the why nots. I'm gonna use a piece of strap. No shackles, no nothing. This piece of strap is rated 350 kilograms, right? Let's use it in double. The easiest way is to put here a knot. Right, the simplest knot you can imagine. Other side, all we have to do is follow this piece of strap. You put it on top and let it slide through the knot. I'm working inside, I'm gonna do it outside, it's easier. Just like this. I will give you a closer look to this knot on my blue table. This is the loop we want to make, right? This is the end of it, and all This part we don't need. So this is the regular, very easy to make knot. I just put in with the other end of my loop. I'm gonna follow this knot. Let's do this. And this string never moved without permission. I just finished installing the thing. Nothing is lined out, nothing is trimmed in, nothing. It's just bolted on. I installed the support arm to see if it fits, and it's a very nice fit. Let's find out if we can do something useful with it. I have here a test bar that is pitted because of rust, but yeah. Okay, we'll see if it's useful or not. I made a little drawbar here to hold my collets. There's 4 of them. This is metric 16. My collets I have, this one is 25, 20, 10, 15, that's a strange measurement, 1588. That's 5/8. Imperial. Just kidding, of course. I have absolutely no problem with imperial and metric and whatever. Right, let's see if we can make, for example, a little hex on this piece of scrap. Conclusion. The thing works a bit. You can feel, you can really tell it is a low quality thing. But I think for what I'm doing here in the workshop, it will be perfectly fine. There's of course a little bit more tweaking to do, but one day I will. The problem is of course just to make one little hex on a part. It's one hell of a job to install it. Take my machine apart and then put all this in place and line out, and I think it's way too much work and it's not really worth it just to make one hex. So I think I'm gonna find an easier solution. I think this could be really handy for gear cutting, but first I have to learn how this system here works. I never used it before. And of course I have to keep my eyes open to try to find gear cutters and all kinds of accessoires, things that goes with this, because for the moment I have almost nothing. I hope you found it interesting, and if you have some useful tips, always welcome. Put them in the comments. And don't forget to pay a visit to Moxia and let's roger that. I'm pretty sure they're gonna appreciate it.